All right, guys, so we have kind of mastered the steps of division using the idea of bows and arrows and archery to solve division facts. Now we're looking into solving division problems, which is really the same thing, but just doing it multiple times. So if you take a look here, guys, we have 56 divided by 3. This is a division problem. However, we are going to invite Multiplication Man to help us. We're going to train our brain to think of division like a mystery of multiplication. And we're going to think of it like archery. So we have our target that we're trying to hit, our bullseye, our total that we're trying to use up. And we're going to figure out the best bow with the best arrow to get as close to that target as we can without going over. Whoops, I did not mean to do that. So what I want to do is we're going to get rid of the target, the bow, and the arrow, and we're going to replace them with the parts of our problem. Our target that we're trying to use up, our total, is 56. So I have here 5 and 6. And one of the things we're going to learn about division is spacing numbers apart is great. Write the numbers nice and big, space them apart, and you're going to see why in a little bit. 56 divided by 3. Now, up until now, we've always been dealing with our divisors being one-digit numbers. Well, in this case, we have a one-digit divisor, but we've always had our quotient, our answer, be a one-digit number also. The arrows have always been nothing greater than 9. But if I try and use 9 as my arrow here, 9 times 3 is only 27. I'm nowhere close to hitting my target of 56. If we know that the arrow needs to be greater than 9, it's no longer a division fact, it's now a division problem. And we need to set up a problem a little bit differently than we need to set up a fact. In a division problem, place value matters. So what we're going to do is we're going to create our place value parking lot with our target. We are going to take each digit and it is going to have its own place value spot. So you can see we have our ones place right here, and we have our tens place. Above each digit in my dividend, I'm going to need a box up above. I always think of the phrase digit box. Wherever I see a digit, I see a box. Wherever I see a digit here, I see a box. And again, our boxes are going to make up our quotient, our answer. I don't need a box here. That's not part of my dividend. It's only what's inside of the house. So I have digit box, and of course, part of my answer is also going to be the remainder. So I do need a space for the remainder and a box. So it goes digit box, remainder, box. And of course, this is my ones place in my answer, and this will be my tens place in my answer. And I know that that seems like a lot, and eventually maybe you don't have to do all of those steps, but in the beginning, this is what we're going to do to help ourselves be successful. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab a different color to kind of help us out here. Because we have 2 boxes in our answer, we are going to be going through 2 different archery target shooting times. Here is our first target. Our first target is the 5. We are going to think to ourselves, 3 times what gets me closest to 5 without going over? Well, I know 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 is already too high. So it looks like 3 times 1 is going to be the closest I can get to 5 without going over. Well, now that's my target. Now I need to figure out where I land when I use that bow and that arrow. 1 times 3, boom, it lands at 3. The next thing I need to decide is, how far away from my target was I? I obviously didn't hit my target, so I need to know, well, how close was I, or how far away was I? To get from 3 to 5, I'm going to count up. Starting at 3, 4, 5. I counted 2 fingers, so I am 2 away. And that makes sense because 2 plus 3 makes 5. Now those 2 actually represent 2 tens that I have left over, 2 tens that I can't quite fit into groups. I can't forget about those 2 tens. I'm simply going to break those 2 tens down into ones, and it makes 20 ones, and I'm going to combine them with the 6 I already have. So that's why we throw that 2 right up here next to the 6, and I create my brand new target. My brand new target is a 2-digit number now. I'm never again going to have a 1-digit target after my first archery match because I'm always going to be bringing up whatever was left from my last archery match. So now my new target's 26. I need to figure out 3 times what gets me as close to 26 as possible. I know I'm going to have to use an arrow much larger than 1. 1 only landed at 3. I need to get much, much higher. I like starting my guesses at 5 because it's kind of right in the middle of all of my 1-digit numbers, and I can only put 1 digit in every parking spot. So I'm going to say, okay, well, 3 times 5 gets me to 15. I'm not quite close enough yet. I know 3 times 6 is 18, getting closer. 3 times 7 is 21, still getting closer. 3 times 8 is 24, much closer. Wonder if I can go any higher. 3 times 9, boom, 27, too high. So it looks like 3 times 8 was the closest I can get to 26. So this was my target. Underneath my target, I need to know where I land when I use that 8 arrow. 8 times 3 is 24. So my target was 26. I actually landed at 24. Now I need to figure out how far away from my target am I? Well, starting at 24 and counting up to 26. Starting at 24, 25, 26. You can see I counted 2 to get up there. And again, 2 plus 24 gets me to 26. Now those 2 are my leftovers that I can't fit into any groups. So I would break that down into the next smaller piece. Well, 1s are the smallest piece I have. Since I can't break this down into anything else, that 2 actually becomes my remainder. So if you remember, guys, your quotient is everything on the roof of the house. So my quotient is actually 18 with the remainder of 2. I'm going to go through another one, and in this next one I'm going to move a little bit more quickly, but I'm also going to show you how to check your answer when you're done. So here I'm dealing with 87 divided by 5. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in here. Again, I'm going to space out my digits really nicely. I'm not going to clump them together. 87 divided by 5. I'm going to go ahead and put multiplication man here to help me. And I know this is a division problem and not a division fact because the highest 1-digit number, 9. If I did put a 9 here, 9 times 5 is only 45. I'm nowhere close to hitting my target, which means I'm not going to just have a 1-target game. Because there's 2 digits here in my dividend, I'm going to end up going through my archery match 2 different times. 1 for each of my place value columns that I have here. So I'm going to go ahead and take my dividend, and for every digit, I have a box above it. So digit, box, and of course part of my answer is that remainder with a box. So this is how I would set up my problem. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go through my archery twice. Once for this place value column. This is obviously my 1s column, and this is my 10s column. So I'm going to go through the archery match with figuring out how many groups of 10s I can make, and then I'll go through it again with my 1s. So my first target is always going to be my 1-digit number. Every other target's going to have 2 digits. We'll see in a minute. So 5 times what gets me closest to 8? Well, 5 times 1 is 5. That's pretty good. 5 times 2 is 10. I've already passed the 8. So it looks like 1 is going to be the best bet. That means I can make 1 group of 10. Well, now I need to figure out my target was 8. Where did I land? 1 times 5 landed at 5. And of course, my last part of this is, well, how far away from my target was I? I didn't hit my target. Instead, I need to figure out how far I was. Well, starting at 5, 6, 7, 8. I was 3 away. And again, 3 plus 5 is 8. Now, I can't forget about these leftover 3. These don't become my remainder yet because I still haven't divided up my 1s yet. I'm going to take these 3 10s and I'm going to break them up into 1s. They break up into 31s, and I'm going to combine that with the 7 1s I already had. So now my new target is 37. It's again a 2-digit target because I brought up my leftovers from my 10s. So now I need to figure out 5 times what gets me closest to 37. It's going to be a much bigger arrow than 1. That only got me to 5. Well, I'm going to start with my 5s. 5s are right in the middle. 5 times 5 is 25. That's not too bad. 5 times 6 would be 30. Getting closer. 5 times 7, 35. Looking good. But 5 times 8, that would be 40. 40 is too high. So it looks like 5 times 7 is the best I'm going to do. When I go ahead and use that arrow in my bow, 7 times 5 lands at 35. Now, my target was 37. I actually landed at 35. To figure out how far away I am, starting at 35, I'm going to count up till I get to 37. So 35, 36, 37. I was 2 away. And again, 2 plus 35 is 37, so that looks good. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring this up to my next place value column, but I don't have one. Ones was the last one. So that's why those leftover 2 actually become my remainder. Now there's two things you need to do to check your answer. The first thing that is so important to do is to make sure that your remainder, which in this case is 2, must always, always, always be smaller than our divisor. Since 2 is less than 5, we're good there. These numbers down here also are remainders during the problem. These numbers also always need to be less than 5. If they're 5 or more, what that means is you didn't use a big enough arrow. You could have gotten closer to your target. So far we're looking good. We're also going to use the opposite operation of division to check our answer, which we know is multiplication. In order to check our answer, we're going to take our quotient, which is, we have our answer, our total answer is 17, remainder 2. We're going to take the 17 part of our quotient, and we're going to multiply it by our divisor. Because what we're saying is we were able to make 17 groups of 5 out of the 87. So when I multiply these together, 5 times 7 is 35, and 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 8. I got to 85. Now, I didn't start at 85, I started at 87. The reason we don't have a match yet is because we have to keep in mind that we had 2 left over that couldn't fit in a group. We're going to take those 2 and add them on to 85. 85 plus 2 more is 87. And we get right back to the beginning. I know that 17 times 5 got us to 85, plus those remaining 2 got us to our starting amount of 87. So there's 2 quick examples. I'm going to do another video with 2 more.